Hello students, welcome to the online class of physics paper 1 mechanics unit 4 which comes in your semester 1 BSc physics. Okay. See, I am N. Chandana, assistant professor of physics from Government Degree College, Khairatabad, Hyderabad. So let us have a quick recap on the previous class, what we have taken on special theory of relativity. If you remember, the unit 4 is special theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, right? So we have understood what is relativity. So there will be a relativity. There is a relativity in position, in time, in motion, and also size, right? So this relativity we have explained regarding position, time, motion, and size using some various examples I have explained you. Then based on this, we have a special theory of relativity and general theory of relativity. So relativity itself has been divided into two parts, that is special theory, and the other one is general theory of relativity. So what is special theory of relativity? Special theory which gives you the theory of relative motion between the objects, okay, which is approaching to c. It's approaching to c, but very much less than of c. Okay. When we come to general theory of relativity, where we understand that what is c? Velocity of light. Here, the velocity of the object is accelerating, like continuous increasing in velocity or accelerating down, accelerating upward. So decelerating or accelerating bodies, we go for general theory of relativity. But here we are discussing only special theory of relativity. Okay. Now in that we have frames of references. What are the two types of frames of reference? A frame of reference is which gives you the position of a particle of a given system, like at any point of time. If you are able to explain with respect to one frame of reference, this is called frame of reference. This is the frame. So this is the origin. So from this origin, we can determine the position of any point in this particular system by using this frame of reference, right? So this is called frame of reference. There are two types, inertial and non-inertial frame of reference. So inertial itself, it means that it obeys Newton's laws. So Newton's first law is law of inertia. So whenever my frame of reference obeys Newton's laws, especially first law means law of inertia, that means every body continues to be in rest or in the state of motion with constant velocity until and unless an external force is acted upon the body, F. Such type of frame is called inertial frame of reference, right? Then the contrary, you have non-inertial frames of reference. So in non-inertial frame of reference, we have the Newton's laws are not valid. Not valid. That means there is no constant velocity of the bodies within the frame of reference. Like if you take two objects within the frame of reference, then the relative velocity between them, those two, is not constant all the time. So they change, they increase rapidly or they decrease. There is a change in the variation of the velocity in the body with respect to the other body within the frame of reference of this non-inertial frame. That's the reason it is called as non-inertial frame of reference. Okay, so we have done till this frame of reference. And let me revise one concept which we have told in this Newton's laws of motion, where I have told you that whenever the external force acting on a body is zero, that means md square x by dt square is equal to zero, right? Then what happens? That means my velocity is constant, right? That means m into acceleration, right? M into acceleration. This is acceleration, right? Ma. F is equal to ma equal to 0. That means m into a is nothing but dv by dt. That is equal to 0, right? So if m is not equal to 0, we know that mass is not equal to 0. Then velocity dv by dt should be equal to 0. Okay, from this equation, it is like a into b equal to 0. Since a is not equal to 0, hence b should be equal to 0 to satisfy this type of equation. So what happens now? dv by dt equal to 0. That means v is constant. So the velocity remains constant, right? So, or else we can say that if I take m inside, what can I say? dp by dt equal to 0. That means p is constant. That means my linear momentum is constant. Linear momentum is constant in inertial frame of reference. So in inertial frames, my linear momentum is constant. Okay. And similarly, when tau is equal to 0, tau, torque acting on a body, rotating body in rotational motion, if torque is equal to 0, then my angular momentum is constant. This is conservation of angular momentum, and F equal to 0 is conservation of linear momentum. This is satisfied only in inertial frames of references. Okay. So this is the major difference between inertial and non-inertial frame of references. So till here we have done in the last two classes. Now let us go for today's class. We have Newtonian principle of relativity. So what is Newtonian principle of relativity? Let me explain you now. Newtonian principle of relativity. See, if Newton laws are valid in one reference frame, then they are also valid in another reference frame moving at uniform velocity related to the first system. I have told you just now. I have told you that if two bodies are moving in the same inertial frame of reference with constant velocity with respect to each other, okay, then we say that this two objects are moving with constant velocity with respect to each other in this inertial frame of reference. Similarly, if I take one frame of reference here, x, y, and z, this is one frame of reference I have, origin O. Now I have one more frame of reference, that is x dash and O dash, okay, O dash, and I have z dash and y dash. This is another frame of reference which is moving with a constant velocity. Relative velocity between them is u, if I take that, right? Now what happens? Now moving it to uniform velocity related to the first system, u bar. Okay, then what happens now? Since these two are obeying this with the constant velocity, their relation is with constant velocity. This type of principle is called, okay, what? Newtonian principle of relativity. Okay, and here if I say that this frame is an inertial frame which is moving with the velocity u bar with respect to this frame of reference, that means both are in this frame also. We have my Newton's laws are valid here also. So at first I know that only in this frame my Newton's laws are valid, right? But because of this frame moving with uniform velocity, constant velocity with respect to the first frame, then I can also say that this frame is also an inertial frame of reference. This principle is called Newtonian principle of relativity. See, with respect to relative velocity I'm talking. That's the reason this is called Newtonian principle of relativity, or we can also say that this is an Galilean invariance, because there is no variation of phenomena inside this. Okay, this is called Galilean invariance. Okay, students. Now let us go for my next topic. So, inertial frames K and K dash. Okay. See, I just want to explain you the inertial frames, two inertial frames which are considered, and if one is in motion with respect to the other, what is going to happen, and what all the phenomena we have, relation between the velocities in one frame to the other frame. Let us see in brief. Okay. So let us consider the inertial frames K and K dash here. Let me go for that now. See here, we have two frames here. If you observe here, there is K here. There is K. K is the first frame, as I told you before, which is at rest. And K dash is the other frame, which is moving with velocity V bar. So what happens now? With respect to V bar, with respect to K bar is traveling with velocity V dash. Relative velocity is V dash, because V bar minus 0 is V, because here the velocity is 0. For this frame, it is at rest, right? Now what happens? Because of this, these two frames, which is exactly moving parallel to each other, right? Both are parallel to each other. See here, X is parallel to X dash, Y is parallel to Y dash, and Z is parallel to Z dash, right? Now let us see the Galilean. Galileo has given some transformations like from one frame to another frame, how do we can represent the position of a point at a particular place in from my frame. So if I consider this to be my frame K, now what would be my position of this point, this particular position from this frame of reference. Similarly, when I consider from one another frame of reference, some another frame of reference as we have explained before, that is K dash. So what would be the coordinate of the same point which is moving with the velocity here, V bar, then what would be happening to the position of the particle from this frame of reference? Let us see. Okay, so to transform the coordinates of position and time from one inertial frame to the other, so Galilean has given some transformation equations. They are called Galilean transformations. Okay, we have position x, y, z, and also time to be considered. Okay, now let me go for in detail here. See, the equations are termed as Galilean transformations, where when the axis is exactly moving constant in x direction and z direction, and it is moving parallel to the frame, then we have this equation. These two, this first equation. Why? How did I get this? So let me draw here and show you. See, this is my first frame, x, y, and z. This is the origin. So this is my frame K. Then from my origin, from this frame, if I have a point here, my point is at x, y, z, and t, right? Now, again, I consider one more frame, x dash. If I consider this is y, this is z, this is y, and this is z dash, this is y dash, right? Now from this is O dash. Now from this point origin, from first frame I have P. Now from my second frame, which is moving with a constant velocity V bar with respect to the first frame, right? This frame is K dash. So both are constant velocity, though both are inertial frames of references, and according to Newton's principle, right, of relativity. Now my position coordinates will change, right? They are now no more x, y, z, and t. They are x dash, y dash, z dash, and t dash, right? That is p dash. Okay, now the coordinates gets changed, right? P only, but there we are considering with respect to the relative with respect to each of the frames. Now what happens now from this equation, we can say that, see here, my position, if I have from here to here, the distance is x, right? That means P, he is here. So from here, this to this is x, small x, right? From origin to x axis, this is x frame. Now this is x. Now from this origin O dash to x dash, this is to this point. What is this? From this to this point. Okay, one second. One second, I'll erase this. One second, huh? I'm trying to get my eraser here. Okay. Let me explain here again. Okay, see here. Now this is x-axis and this is x dash. Both are parallel to each other, aligned in the same line. Now what happened? I have a position P here, a point P at a position this. So from here to this entirely, this comes as x, right? Now from this point to this O dash, that is x dash, from second frame of reference, that is x dash. Since this is traveling with respect to velocity v dash, the second frame, with the time t, in time t, I traveled a distance this much, right? See, with velocity v dash from here to here. So what happens? My distance will be v into velocity into time t. So velocity into time t, right? So this is v into t. Okay. So what happens now? What I'll get? So x dash will be what? X dash will be how much? This is traveling with this distance. So x dash will be how much now? X minus vt, or x is how much ma? X dash plus vt. X dash plus v into t, because this frame is moving with the velocity v dash v. So what happens? Velocity into time plus x dash gives you x. So x dash is equal to x minus vt, y dash equal to y, because they are exactly parallel to each other, right? Then z dash equal to z and t dash equal to t. Now time t for all observers is fundamentally invariant. Time t for all observers is fundamentally invariant. That is, it is same for all inertial observers. It's always fundamentally invariant time in inertial frames of reference. So time t dash equal to t, z dash equal to z, y dash, but x is x minus vt, because in the x direction the frame is moving, right? Parallel to y and z axis. In x direction the frame is moving, so the displacement is happening in x direction. Hence we got x dash equal to x minus vt, where vt is the v is the velocity with which the second frame is traveling, k dash frame, within time t. So the distance traveled in time t with velocity v dash is v bar into t. Velocity into display time is equal to displacement, or distance is equal to distance by time equal to velocity, right? So velocity into time vt equal to what happens? Distance. Okay, so I got this equation. So these four equations are called what? Galilean transformations. Okay, these are called Galilean transformations. Okay, students. Now, when I have Galilean transformations, by replacing v bar with minus v, okay, v bar with minus v, and x bar as x, v bar as minus v velocity opposite in opposite direction, and y dash as y, and z dash as z, and t dash as t. Then what happens? Then all the laws, all the Galilean transformations will become turned into this thing, right? Because we have x dash is equal to x minus vt before. This is Galilean transformation. But here I replace x dash by x by x dash, minus v by plus v. So I have x dash plus vt. Similarly, y equal to y dash, z equal to z dash, and t equal to t dash. So these four equations are called Galilean inverse relations. Galilean inverse relations. Okay, called as Galilean inverse relations. Then we come to the ether hypothesis. Okay, see, listen to this. See, after accepting the wave theory of light given by Huygens theory, Huygens wave theory of light, then there is some significance on after wave theory. There is a thought that the space is filled with, the entire space around the earth is filled with a substance called ether. Ether. Okay. And how ether was supposed to be, they have estimated that the ether would be invisible, it would be massless, perfectly, it would be transparent, and also non-resistive, having very low density and high elasticity. Okay, so either they have imagined a medium called ether medium. Okay, so through which our light waves are propagating, and they have supposed that the ether is invisible, massless, and perfectly transparent and non-resistive, which has very low density and high elasticity. All these properties they were assuming for the medium which they have considered around the space of Earth, which is called ether. They named it as ether. So they want to identify whether there is any relative motion between our earth and the ether. So our earth and ether. Whether there is a relation between earth and the medium which is surrounding the earth, that is ether. Is there any relation between earth and ether? They just want to give a try. Okay. That is the reason they have framed this ether hypothesis. So if such a motion can be detected, like if there is a relative motion between ether and earth, okay, if at all such a motion can be detected, okay, then we can choose a fixed frame of reference in the stationary ether and can express all motions related to this frame. See here, if at all I have earth here, if I have a medium surrounding this earth to be ether, okay, now if it is ether medium, okay, if there is any relative motion, we can express the relative motion between either medium and our earth with any one equation. If there is any relation can be expressed between this either medium and earth, okay, then we can easily express all the motions related to this. So we can fix a frame here in this either medium and we can express the motion of anything, any object, okay, from this frame of reference, considering this frame to be a stationary frame of reference. Okay, we can also determine the absolute velocity of the earth using this frame of reference because we are considering that this frame is stationary. So we can observe from this frame the velocity of earth, the moment of earth can be easily understood from this medium called ether medium, from this frame of reference. So we can easily calculate the absolute velocity of earth using this frame of reference from ether medium to the earth. Okay. So then this experiment has come into picture, the famous experiment even today that is called the Michelson and Morley experiment. Okay. Uh, this is based on interference. So the Michelson and Morley experiment. Okay. This is based on interference of light. Okay. So what does that experiment talk about? So in 1887, Michelson and Morley, both are the scientists, and even Michelson have won the Nobel Prize, okay, in physics in 1907 because of this discovery. So what did he say is, according to this experiment, what did they talk is that they have to measure the relative velocity of Earth with respect to this medium called ether. With respect to this medium called ether. They just want to measure the relative velocity of Earth with respect to the medium called ether. In 1887, they have proposed this experiment. Okay, and Albert Michelson has been awarded Nobel Prize in 1907. He is the first United States citizen to receive this Nobel Prize. So he has built an experiment which is very much precise. That means the result is very much accurate, very much accuracy. With high accuracy, they have designed an experimental device which is called as interferometer because it is based on interference concept. So that is called as interferometer. This is also called as Michelson interferometer. Okay. How did they measure the velocity? Let us see. It is used to measure the minute students. This is not minute. Minute and minute, they both have the same spelling, but the pronunciation is different based on the sentence where we use that, right? Based on the circumstance where I am using the word. Here I am using minute phase difference between the two light waves traveling in mutually orthogonal directions. So you know that interference, in your intermediate you have studied, students. So what is interference? Tell me, what is interference? See, that is nothing but distribution of intensity. There will be a distribution of intensity or distribution of amplitude. When two waves of same phase interfere with each other, there will be a distribution of intensity or distribution of amplitude in the region of interference. So which in turn results you fringes. Bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark. These type of fringes are formed with equal intensities, right? Separated by fixed distance. This distance between any two consecutive fringes is said to be fringe width beta. This is called interference, right? So whenever the phase difference is equal to 2n pi between any two light waves. That means they are in phase. Okay. Then that type of interference is said to be constructive interference. Okay. So constructive interference means I'll get bright light. I'll get bright. Okay. Or maximum intensity. Maximum intensity. So whenever my phase difference is an odd multiple of pi, then what happens? I'll get a minima. I'll get dark. I'll get minimum intensity, or I'll get destructive interference. Destructive interference. How it happens? Means when a crest falls on crest, that is maxima, or trough on trough, maxima. When crest on trough or trough on crest, that is minima. Why? A light wave is a transverse wave. It has crest maximum amplitude and trough minimum amplitude, right? So based on this interference, they have interference phenomena. They have designed Michelson and Morley an interferometer. Based on that, we can calculate the velocity of Earth with respect to this either medium. That is called Michelson interferometer. Okay, the Michelson interferometer is as shown here, right? See here, from a monochromatic light source, that means of single wavelength lambda. If I suppose monochromatic means single wavelength, chromatic means multiple wavelengths. So I have a monochromatic source of light. Now I have a slit here which allows a narrow beam to pass through this slit, okay, which obstructs a beam not to be broad, like it obstructs the extended light, and it only allows a narrow beam of light to pass through that. Then it is made to fall on a partially silvered mirror, on a partially coated, silver coated glass plate. You can consider this. Okay. Now what happens? Because it is partially silvered, some of the light gets transmitted in this way and some light gets reflected in this way. Okay. Now what happened? I have put, not me exactly. So Michelson and Morley, how they have designed this interferometer, I am explaining you. So what happened? We have put here mirror M1 here, where the transmitted light ray will go and get reflected back here from this point at C. Okay. Similarly, the light ray which got reflected on this plate, because it is partially silvered, there will be a partial reflection and partial transmission. So this reflected light will go and it gets reflected at mirror M2 at a point D. Now this reflected ray and this reflected ray from this mirror will come and then again interfere here, and they come back, and the interfered pattern will be observed. The interference format or the fringes or the interference pattern will be observed through this telescope here. Okay, through this telescope. Okay, now this phenomena of interference. Okay, this phenomena of interference, light, based on the observed analysis of the interference pattern, we can calculate the path difference here, and we can obtain an equation for velocity, and thereby we calculate the velocity, and we obtain the some equation, and where we can obtain an equation for the velocity of Earth, and finally this has a negative result. But how did it come? Based on the equations here, I'll explain you. Okay. Now I'll explain you by using equations, not by PPT. Exactly, I'll use whiteboard and analyze this equation in the next class. Okay. So finally we have done Galilean transformations and Galilean invariance and ether hypothesis I've explained. So Michelson-Morley experiment, I have explained you what is interference and how do two waves interfere there, and how do we get bright fringes and dark fringes, maxima and minima. So I'll explain you in detail in the next class. Okay, students. So thank you so much for your patient listening. Have a good day and take care.